on this episode of the Esports Meta.
Let's do it. That's the way we do it, man. We just light it up. Full lit 420 on this podcast.
Overwatch's biggest problem is the reputation.
All right, so like what? The meta shifts because of that. They know how people are going to ban.
To the Esports Meta, your place for competitive video games and news. I'm your host, Billy Sims. So very excited to come to this podcast this week because we've got some very exciting and interesting things to talk about this week. First and foremost, on this episode, Overwatch's meta suddenly and drastically changed. We'll go over the specifics and why later on. The LTA North, League of Legends LTA North is heading to first stand. Is it a big deal or is it kind of just warm up? You know, we'll talk about that, what it means, and prep you for everything to expect coming up on that. And finally, Marvel Rivals. They've got their first season 1 half patch. We're experiencing this half patch cadence for the first time. We got 2 more characters. We'll be going over those details in the dev blog in just a few moments. But to do that, I want to talk with some people. I got to talk with my co-host Nick in just a moment, but I want to talk with you as well. This is a gaming podcast where video gamers just like you are. So if you're interested in these topics, chime in, get into chat, drop an emoji, or hit us up on our social media at the Esports Meta. You know, we like to have fun. We like to chat here. And I already see Nick giggling on the side a little bit, probably at me, probably what I'm saying. So let's get him on in here and see what he's got to say. Nick, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, man. I wasn't giggling at all. This is serious business.
Absolutely serious. The most serious we've ever been for any podcast ever. We've done it 40 times. How are you feeling for the 40th time?
Serious.
I swear a second ago, Nick, I was talking to the camera and I can just see out of my peripheral your face and you're just like big grin, giggling to yourself. So like, what is this, man? Are you stonewalling me again?
Name's not Jackson, not doing it to you. So, but anyway, let's start this jam. Let's spread this butter. You're
obviously playing games, so let's get into some video game topics, man. It's been a week of video games. What have you been playing? Is it VALORANT still? Are you on something else? Or are you looking forward to something new coming up?
Dude, that game's got me addicted right now. Trying to beat that game pretty like the amount of times that I have to beat it just to like actually beat the game is it's a lot. And you know, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. Overall, it's a roguelike, right? So, you know, you got to be a little repetitive, get through it, build up your skill, but you're enjoying it. The journey is part of the destination here. Awesome to hear. I'm glad I also pronounced it right. VALORANT.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we said it wrong. Who knows? But anyway, that's how we say it at the Esports Meta. Anyway.
Here at the Esports Meta, that's how things fly. Thanks for joining me today, Nick. We've got a couple things we're going to talk about. If you're watching, and like I said, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to chime in the chat on our social media, etc. You know how to do that. But let's get started. I've got a couple little things to talk about, but let's really go into LTA North. League of Legends, new LTA North, the North American division and South American division are heading to first stand. We've had a bit of a competition leading up to that, seeing who's going to go. So let's go through some scores of the last weekend, deciding which teams get to go till what is it? They're going to compete at last stand, right, Nick?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
The first stand. It's called first stand.
First stand, again, feels kind of weird, but okay. Let's buy it. First stand. So the scores here, let's hit those up. We already covered round 1 lower bracket, so we're in round 2 lower bracket now. First game we're covering here, Dignitas versus FlyQuest. FlyQuest takes a heavy-handed win against Dignitas 2-0, bringing them over into the lower bracket 3. Team Liquid Honda faces off against Shopify Rebellion. This is where Shopify Rebellion's story in the lower bracket ends. The stream team is no longer the dream team. So they're on hiatus for a month with Disguise Team losing the match 2-0. In the final match we had here in the lower bracket round, FlyQuest versus Team Liquid Honda. In the decider match, best of one, FlyQuest takes it over Team Liquid Honda. Nick, did you get the chance to watch any of these games? And if so, how'd you feel about it? Because from my point of view, they seem a little bit better than what we were discussing last year with some of the splits, but kind of now on the same level, same page. Am I wrong, or do you see something else?
No, I mean they're fun games right now. I think like full disclosure, I think it's a little bit too short for like a lot of people to really like get into it. Like it's over. If you missed a week, you're kind of like,
right.
To see it, like the split's over. That's it. They're going to first stand. So I like it. It was fun. It's like I don't know if they'll do 3 splits next year. They might be changing like the format overall. But they might be keeping it the same. So, you know, it's a experimental year for the most part. So we just let it ride, but it was fun. But, you know, it's not a surprise that FlyQuest ran the lower bracket. Like running losers bracket is a pretty common thing, as I discussed last week, that, you know, I don't really like people. I think like losers brackets for like the first round losers. Like that's it. Like, and then you have like your first round, you have a bad game, like whatever, boom. And then you get to try again. But this is like, it's just a common occurrence. There's never really any like, you know, underdogs that really come out of the lower bracket all that much when these things happen.
Very few and far between. And it's so much harder in a blink and you miss it split like this is. I know that's experimental. It's the point of this first split. Get things going quickly, get people used to the new system, the new regions, etc. Get the new regions into international play quickly. But we are kind of missing some meat and potatoes from this. Again, because like you said, blink and you miss it. And then the second factor, lower bracket sort of gameplay happening here. FlyQuest came in off of losing to Cloud9 Kia. And then Cloud9 goes on to lose to 100 Thieves in this sort of bracket area. FlyQuest moving forward. Am I missing a game here? I think the top 4 teams make it to first stand, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then it's going to be 100 Thieves, Cloud9, and seemingly Team Liquid and FlyQuest going to first stand from the LTA North, or going to compete against LTA South to then find the top 2 teams?
No, it's in the cross conference.
Okay.
So if you look at the, sorry,
so we
I was on the wrong page.
LTA cross conference. Okay.
Yeah. TL is going to cross conference. 100 Thieves, FlyQuest, C9. They're all going. You can see it in like the not the standings, in the homepage where it has like the schedule and stuff like that. Gotcha. It'll show you like the matches that are coming up. Like those are the next matches.
All right, yeah.
That are coming
up. It makes
a
little bit more sense there, where it's essentially two tournaments split in the first split for LTA North and South, where LTA needs to figure out the teams they're sending, and then LTA South needs to figure out the teams that they're sending.
Right. That's what's going on right now. Like I said it wrong. Yeah. It's just knockout. It's knockouts for. That's why I'm saying across conference, because it's doing knockouts right now. So it's going to be 100 Thieves versus Pain, Lev versus Fly, Loud versus C9, and then IE versus TL, which is like that feels like a setup.
In favor of who? I caught you while you're
just the two letter names. Like that's all.
All right. Yeah, it's new. It's still getting familiarized. I remember last year when we were covering the Esports World Cup, there were some hiccups in our perception of how some of the tournaments were being run. League of Legends isn't always known for its clarity of stuff either, but with this season having the new conferences, the new matchups, etc., there was a little bit of a confusion of scheduling. You can see a full like game by game schedule on the homepage, but that, becomes very condensed, very very dense of different games, different times from different regions and leagues and stuff. So
Yeah, if you pick all leagues, of course it is.
I know, but who here filters? All right, filtering is a power user thing, and I know
it's a cookie. You do it once, and it's there forever. Just do it once. It's fine. Anyway,
I'm not logged in though, bro. I'm not. Anyway, yeah. So the score is there for LTA North. We have 100 Thieves, Cloud9. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. FlyQuest is going, as well as 100 Thieves is going into the cross conference, correct?
100 Thieves, yes. C9, FlyQuest, and Team Liquid.
There we go. All right. Well, I look forward to not being confused by this myself. Maybe I got to get more wrinkles on that gray matter up there. Start playing League of Legends. But the 4 games happening this weekend in this bracket. It's coming up this weekend, Nick.
What, this one?
Yeah, these cross conference games.
Boop, boop. February 15th, my man. So yes.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. I'm questioning myself, but we'll see how this goes. Nick, do you have any expectations of winners, losers? Who is going to be the power team in this? It doesn't seem like it's.
I have nothing on the LTA South. I hope they come out and just absolutely swing on the LTA North and stuff happens. You know, it would, like, the funniest thing to happen would be like FlyQuest just doesn't win anything.
Why is that?
Whippo's loud. That's all. Like, he's a boisterous dude. Like, he's very strongly opinionated and everything, and says exactly what's on his mind most of the time in a semi-proper way. So, like, or a proper way. So, it's gonna be fun. We'll see what he says.
Yeah, he's been talking since week 1. Still,
he's a talker. It's not a week 1 thing. But it's fine. It's good. It's not like a bad thing at all.
Yeah. We do like seeing that personality come through and come out. I wasn't sure if he got quieted a little bit after that loss and then knocked down to bracket lower.
Oh, absolutely not. Kind of thing. I got to finish the video that they released today, but he's at the round table with a bunch of other people hosted by Jet. So it's going to be a fun video from what I've seen already.
Tried and true, man's consistent. Gotta send props to that. So moving on, just kind of taking a look at the first stand tournament. Tickets are now on sale, I believe. If you want to head to the tournament, article on the news page of LOL Esports, lolesports.com.
That thing's in Korea, homie. I don't know who's going to that.
You can still go, man. You might be vacationing. You might happen to be over in Korea, but tickets are now there for your taking is the theme of this. They have some ticket information going to be starting officially I think it already happened like 12 hours ago if it's Korean time, KST.
Sure. But it's still the 10th. Either way, it's today. I guess so.
You're right. What are your thoughts about first stand here and like the event and looking forward to it as far as details and what they've released so far about the event?
And international tournaments are always fun.
Yeah. Is it going to be another like Korean main character kind of tournament, or do we actually see some like spark happening from EU or North America kind of taking that underdog arc?
I don't know, man. Like this guy, it's probably going to be exactly what it's always been. But, who knows? Like something can come out of nowhere. FlyQuest can come out and win all games and, really cook. I don't know. FlyQuest comes out, Walter White in it. I don't know. Comes out with all the money and just wins. That would be cool. But, it's definitely going to be normal. But it's just going to be an international tournament. International is always fun for League. Like, it's just what a lot of players want to see, especially when they're talking about like viewership and stuff like that. It's always something that people look for. It has the best results most of the time because it has all the everybody's tuning in. So we got nice viewership numbers. So it could be, just that way, but it's giving the players what they want while doing something.
Okay. Well, with that, I know the first international tournament of the year is always going to have a bigger, different feel to it. this one especially because this is going to be the first international tournament on this like level of the league, where they're doing fearless draft, right? They've done it in like the lower ranking tiers, the lower tier tournaments for league, but like contenders, etc., right? And this is the first time they're going to be doing it at the top level fearless draft.
Yeah. I mean, like fearless draft is new for this year, and it's going to be a really, really fun. And that just means that we get more variants with champion picks, strategies, stuff like that. And maybe you get to see your favorite champion on the field. Maybe you don't. I'll certainly see mine probably. But no, like it's just really, really fun. You get to see exactly how skilled a lot of players are, and it's very hard to get bored personally, unless it's like a stomp, which then it's just like watching Overwatch. Yeah, shots.
Gotcha.
Sink the battleship.
Oof.
Sink it up.
What's that meme from The Simpsons? He's already dead.
Yeah, there you go. Billy said it first. He's finally admitting it, guys. He still has a problem, but he's coming back from the brink, everybody.
We're not going to totally go there, but we're going to kind of go there. So I think that kind of sums up the conversation here with League of Legends a bit. We have a couple cross-conference games for the LTA North versus LTA South coming up this weekend, leading into who's going to Korea and playing in the First Stand International Tournament, etc. It should be a good time. I'm going to probably catch a little bit more of that. I've been very on page and in tune with Overwatch stuff, checking out those bands, but I'm excited for the Fearless draft on the international stage and just to show the difference of teams maybe a little bit more.
I'm not going to lie. I know this is like a kid's game and everything. We don't like betting, but I swear to God, they need to partner up with DraftKings and make an app for pick'ems. Like these are the parlays on this of like first bloods and stuff like that. Like guys, just make your money. That should be where you're making your money. I put a couple bets on that.
A little tricky with that, but conversation for another time. Currently, we have more topics to head into. I want to actually pivot us into Marvel Rivals, another small-ish conversation, because Marvel Rivals had a dev blog that was just released today talking about the first half of season 1 and what to expect in the second half of season 1. Bring us over to that right now. Looking good. Perfect. Okay. Dev Talk Volume 0.10 seasonal rank adjustment. TLDR with this, the devs are looking to drop your rank. They call it a rank reset, but more appropriate, it's knocking your rank down by 4 to 6 overall, just to kind of keep people interested, adjust for the changes. Marvel Rivals did have patch notes about a week ago, but surprisingly, no heroes were adjusted, no numbers were adjusted, no mechanics. It was all bug fixes. Very much needed, but also a little bit of surprise for that sort of hands-off approach so far. They might be expecting to do the major changes with this rank reset after the first half season, but that's pretty much all that's kind of happened. It's a very small change, but they're looking at it from that long macro season, not half season aspect to it. Nick, how do you feel about maybe 4 weeks into the season getting a rank demotion, or I guess they're calling it a half rank reset? What are your thoughts with how do you feel like about your very good rank being knocked down?
Yeah, I didn't even do enough games in ranked in order to get ranked, but I wouldn't have a problem with this if I was in if it was league. For the most part, it's an early game. It's not like the middle of a season. So it's a really weird way to think about it. It's not the middle of a season. It's the start of a game. So skill levels and MMR is probably juiced and not proper. So it probably makes sense, just from my standpoint.
Yeah.
That seems proper.
I know there's been a lot of hot takes across the internet where, there's a lot of commentary where ranking and ranks are kind of weird. They're sort of tuning the knobs on the back end to see how many people should go in what rank, where's the player base and skill level at, etc. So I kind of feel you on that. There is an aspect where there's so much chaos still that they're not sure. So the rank reset ends up kind of being a good thing. Also with two new characters getting introduced on this half season aspect, I guess it does make a bit sense because it might change up the meta that much. But I feel like too, I don't know. There's a part of me that like, I can't put words to it, but there's something about it where it's like, if they're going to do that every like 4 weeks, going to bump your rank down. Is that a good thing?
Do it every 4 weeks. You know, like that's just my thought. Like, I don't think wouldn't really be too much reason to do it every 4 weeks. You know, it's pretty chuffed.
Well, yeah, I'm just kind of speaking like 4 weeks as every half season. I think seasons are supposed to last about 6 to 8 weeks. So you're talking every 3 to 4 weeks being a half season. It's still a lot really early to know, of course. So I hear you on that. I want to keep my eye on this and kind of like flag it right now. It's not like a penalty, but just kind of, hey, you know, this is cool or not. See if they're receptive to adjusting, if it's working, if it's not, the transparency. Like I said, I was a bit surprised that there weren't any hero updates on the last patch notes about a week ago. It was all bug fixes. So I would anticipate that this coming half season patch, starting on the 21st, about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks away from today, the 10th, 11 days specifically, I wouldn't doubt that there's going to be a big patch note changes for that. And that might be another reason why they're doing a little bit of a rank reset for it. I want to keep my eye on it. I want to keep my feelings reserved, but it is something I want to spotlight and kind of maybe come back and be like, you see, later on, if there is any sort of like weird stuff happening. Because I know the player base has been a little bit on edge. The game is still fun. They're still having a great time with it. There is definitely some coughs of, oh, triple support is not fun to play into. The percentage of play time versus win rate is disproportionate to how people feel. And then you've got all the other sort of conditions that come with video gaming in general. So I wanted to make a note on that, point that stuff out, and kind of keep talking here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I just, you know, we'll watch it. I just don't see too much problem with it like this early in the lifespan of the game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and rank resets aren't an unhealthy thing. They are a healthy thing. It's just a matter of how, just like microtransactions. It's not necessarily a bad thing for games and gamers. It's just when it's exploitative that gets weird. We'll keep an eye on that. Keep you posted. Let you know XYZ coming up as we find out. So that was a pretty quick topic, Nick. Let's pivot now into our next one, man. We're kind of burning through this stuff today.
Let's do it. That's the way we do it, man. We just light it up. Full lit 420 on this podcast. Let's go.
Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few things. If you're enjoying the content so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It's free for you and it really helps us out. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast, play games, hang out, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky. This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports. So jump on in the conversation. Of course, you can find more content like this on YouTube. Just hit subscribe right here or here. Either way, we appreciate you being here, so thanks for watching. Let's get back to the show.
Okay, let me kind of reset my mind, reset my brain, because I'm kind of thrown off. But okay, Overwatch's meta has drastically changed in the last week. You might have noticed it, you might have seen it, and we've got a little bit of information that might help explain why and how of everything that's going on and keep that conversation going. But let's start with scores. All right, this last week in OWCS, let me try that again. This last week in OWCS, weekend two of games, we saw a lot of 3 Overwatch happening here. Shikigami went up against Timeless, losing 0-3. Timeless looking very dominant with all 3 maps, just taking it straight to the house every single game. Amplify playing Space Station Gaming 3-1. Space Station over Amplify. There was some shakiness, but Space Station got it together, knew what's going on, and again, dominated. It's going to be a big theme this week for these scores. Next
Look
up,
at that, man.
Amplify.
I called it.
What was that?
That, you know, one team just dominates. You're just watching Overwatch, I guess.
A little bit apropos. Savor it now, Nick, because we're going to be revisiting some words from last week that, you know, might be a little bit biting the ass for you. But
not me.
Moving into Saturday scores, Nightmare played against Amplify. Amplify going on a losing streak here, losing to Nightmare 3-0. Space Station Gaming taking on Avidity, winning 3-0. Space Station, again, looking dominant. We're starting to see the teams who get it and the meta that works with them, essentially. Our final game for Saturday was Team Liquid versus Rad Esports. Team Liquid taking a 3-0. And this one I caught on stream, and it was bad. Rad had no idea what they're doing. Wrecking Ball was just wrecking house. Infected's Wrecking Ball was dominating, and they just didn't do anything about it, couldn't do anything about it. Moving into the last games of this past weekend, Avidity played against Rad Esports, kind of like a weird battle here. Rad to try to make some moves, and they could not do anything generally against anybody this weekend. Avidity winning 3-0. Our final match of the weekend was another 3-0, Team Liquid over Shikigami, and we're getting back from the round robin standings that we saw last week, moving more specifically into, okay, here's our winners, here's our losers, here's who's dominating. Here's a quick look at the standings. Let me bring it up a little bit larger so we can see. Team Liquid currently number 1 with a 3-1 and a +4 map differential. Space Station Gaming number 2, also running a 3-1 record with a higher map differential, but I think the record and the games played is what's causing that percentage standing difference. Nightmare number 3, Avidity number 4, Timeless surprisingly in number 5. Rad Esports still on that edge of oblivion here, trying to prevent themselves from having to play for relegation later on. There's only 2 more weeks before we see any sort of movement in that way, but we'll see who can keep their spot here. Because at the very least, it's practice to play with the big boys, essentially. Last up, Shikigami in spot 7 and Amplify with the 0-4, not really making anything happen, only winning 3 maps in total with a -9 differential at spot number 8. Nick, looking at these scores and looking at this past weekend, I know you've already stated your opinion where it's like watching Overwatch, etc. But how do you feel like these teams, especially after coming out last week, where we did see some of these top teams middle of the pack because for whatever reason, because what do you think with this week? Are we seeing a meta shift that's really defining what's going to occur, or are we seeing just teams show that they're more versatile, they're better at the game, or they get their shit together?
Coaching and scrims are doing good. Just getting a more handle on the current patch. You know, that's probably just like what it is.
Kind of interesting on that.
We'll see the gaps. It's not like, there's always good players and bad players that are pros, right? Like, no disrespect on that. Just like, everybody's tiered and nobody's going to be even, especially in like Overwatch. So we'll see that delta form more and more.
Right. We're halfway through this stage. We're halfway through this pre-relegation era of stuff with the hero bans. People are still figuring out what to do, how to do, and these teams definitely have gotten to this point, so they know what they're doing. But yeah, it's kind of looking pretty clear. I'm going to be mostly focusing on a team like Timeless, because Timeless has looked dominant, but currently their ranking, and this is probably just down to how many games they've played, they're 2-1. So they've got quite a few matches left to play in the last 2 weeks, and they have shown the propensity. Is that a word? Propensity? They've shown the capacity for dominance. They've shown the understanding and the skill level for sure, but they've kind of let some loose in sometimes, especially that one map that they lost, the one game that they lost there. They're not necessarily fighting for relegation, that 7 or 8 spot, but I think they're going to want to move up dramatically. And to do that, they're going to have to get past Nightmare, who essentially, I think, was the team that beat them, who essentially gatekept them initially.
Go Overwatch.
But maybe this is all coming down to the meta. And the story here is really how drastically the meta changed within the last week. Let's take a look at the pick ban rate for week 2. This is the chart for hero bans of week 2. We're seeing a little bit of a different distribution. And before we get to the full story of it, let's go to the numbers. I'm going to scroll us back up to the top. And we'll look specifically here at week 2. We saw Ana picked. Baptiste was picked as a ban. Diva picked 3 times as a ban. Hazard picked 5 times as a ban, which is pretty consistent from week 1 to week 2. 4 bans in week 1, 5 bans in week 2. Juno was picked drastically less, 5 bans in week 1 and only 1 ban in week 2. Kiriko, relatively the same with 3 bans this week. Malga, Lucio, relatively the same. Lucio is actually dramatically down 4-1 this week in the trend. Orisa was up 1, but I do think that was a troll pick. I do think they were probably protecting their tank at best, if not just insulting the team that they were playing against. And as we scroll down, I think what we start to see is Sojourn was banned 3 times. Sombra stayed the same, but Torb went from 0 to 5 bans this week, Nick. And this is where I'm going to specifically focus on you, because this is what we were talking about a little bit last week, where it's looking at Torb. Why is he even in the game?
So I called it. And I said, can we buff Torb? Can we get this character played? You're welcome. I don't know what to tell you, bro. That's what it was. That's what you did. That's what you're grilling me on. Great, get out of here, you clown. I wouldn't sit
so high and mighty, man. We have not seen a patch notes in the past week. Things have not changed numerically. Player sentiment has changed.
So this is just banned, right?
These are the numbers banned, yeah.
All right, so like what, the meta shifts because of that. They know how people are going to ban, so they decide to make more, instead of worrying about how fast you get to the certain areas, they just try to make sure that they hold the areas a little bit more. I don't know. How often was it picked? You gonna get me talking about this nonsense? Rat. Absolute rat behavior.
We could take a look at pick rates a little bit later.
Did he get picked?
Team comps. Yes. Very much so. And I'll go into the specifics of why. And this is the story of what happened in this past weekend in the last 2 weeks of the drastic meta shift. The meta shifted, but it didn't shift. It's just people looking at it from a different angle, essentially. And we'll cover that a little bit more after we finish covering the numbers. Because if we scroll down here with the number specifically, Wrecking Ball was also a big ban hero here, going from 2 to 5. Winston went from 4 bans last weekend to 0 bans this weekend. They did not think he was a threat. Overall, there was far less bans because there were far less matches. Less 3-2s, less 3-1s. There was so many more 3-0s this past weekend. And like, this might be a big reason why. I'm going to bring us down to the chart here in week 2 so we can kind of take a visual look at what it means here. There we go. All right. All the bars that go over the screen that we can't see go up to 5. But generally speaking, you know, we don't see Pharah at all in this list compared to last weekend where we did. Ana is a little bit less, but still, you know, noticeable. Ashe is much less, but going up, Sojourn, Torb, huge difference. Tracer's still being respected. Widowmaker getting picked once, but like, you're going to pick that for the one hero player, etc. Even like Zen getting banned out once, which was a weird secondary meta shift to the meta shift. It was like the counter comp, perhaps. You know. So Nick, looking at all these numbers, etc., I've already kind of alluded to the shift in that. What do you think the major comp was being played here for all these bans being picked for this way in this matter?
I don't know, man. Probably a comp in which you have like a person who's slippery and draws a lot of attention in a certain area where your guys can just sit there and fire and don't have to be targeted. since Soldier and Torb are being banned, like, because they can't be bothered to target the Soldier or the Torb. So that means that they're targeting Wrecking Ball in the games that they, don't want to ban Wrecking Ball. They ban Torb because they're like, we can deal with the Wrecking Ball. Get rid of Torb and the other one. And who knows? I don't know if I'm right on this. That's like,
you have a pretty good instinct with it. And I'm trying to just, draw this out a little bit more than I might necessarily need to, because I do feel like this has been such a fun story to watch and develop. And it's literally almost right on cue for you saying, just get rid of Torb last weekend. And that's the thing I want to like poke at you a little bit for, because we basically saw a deployables comp come in, and specifically with OWCS in Japan, there's a team called Please Not Hero Band, and they were running Bastion, Symmetra, Wrecking Ball, Alari, and Baptiste. We did see the Bastion swap into Torb, so it was Sim Torb a lot, turrets all over the place. And really the reason this was being run was because of how dominant Hazard has been, how buffed and strong he has felt, the kind of dive that they've been running. This deployables comp seemed to counter that initially. So once this kind of caught wind out and about, the OWCS Japan team played with it. They won in the matches over here.
Good for them.
So kind of showing like, hey, this is not necessarily a joke. There is some solidity to this. Some
That's a joke comp.
Theory crafting to it.
That's a joke comp. That's a meta game. Man. No, it's just a meta game, man. They know that, like, it's just playing against everybody wanting to dive in with an overpowered character. And then, oh, look, we'll just do this because everybody's just going to do it anyway. And then the people who are doing it going like, I'll just jump off this cliff. It's fine. And then they run into it and then they deal with it. And now it's busted. No, it's not busted. It's just how people are playing. That's all. So I get what you're saying. But yeah, it's a joke comp. That shit's trash if they actually balance the game properly. Like
I would kind of argue, because like when we continue the meta story of this on the rock, paper, scissors aspect of it, it's not quite as solid as that. You're seeing player expression through their hero choice. We were at a stance last week, a sentiment where it's like, yeah, Torb is kind of a joke. Like, he's fun to play. He might do fine on ladder and ranked, but like, you're not really going to see them. Here, he's been a key aspect looking at bans for...
let's talk
OWCS
about it real quick.
And Overwatch.
Are they
North
busted?
America over OWCS.
Are they busted or are they not busted, right? No, just in general, right? Like, what's going to happen? If nothing got buffed and nothing got changed, it just means that if they are busted, they're just going to get nerfed because they're going to terrorize the lower tiered players, or the comp is trash and it's only metagamed. Like, there's two options here, man. It's the only two options we got.
Okay. That's the only two options in theory. And like looking at the numbers, of course, we've seen that spike up from week 1 to week 2 in these characters. Hazard got banned even more than he had gotten banned previously. Juno got banned way less. So we're seeing a lot less of that speed flurry comp. But what's kind of important here is we didn't see Sigma get banned at all. We didn't see Winston get banned at all in week 2. But we did see Diva get banned relatively the same amount that they got banned previously. Ramatra got banned way less as well. So if we actually went to some of the comps that were being run in the game overall, what you saw is like if Hazard kind of gameplay team came out, a divey team, they'd play the deployable comp essentially. So that would be a Wrecking Ball, a Torb, Sim. Generally it would be a Kiriko and
sounds great.
Lucio, possibly an Ana, etc. And like generally, if a team wasn't as comfortable on that one and didn't quite figure it out, they would start running like the Sigma comp. And like this wasn't just the teams that 3-0'd and got 3-0'd that were trying to run like a Sigma on this stuff. The teams that were winning also started running a Sigma, etc. But overall, the teams that did win this past weekend were teams that were better at that Wrecking Ball mindset, that dive from like a wrecking ball rather than a hazard, and getting the play around. We did see some Ramacha, we did see some Malga, we did see some Sigma. So we did see this like kind of continuation and people maybe grasping perhaps on the meta, but it wasn't as cut and divided as like, okay, this is the meta, and then, okay, here's the counter meta, and like you can only go A, B, or mirror match for it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just joking. The comp is trash, but like Bastion, Torb, and Symmetra are just like unhealthy champions for the game. Like as far as like overall player base is concerned, like I don't care how much you like it. Like they're just not good for like low skilled players to enjoy the game. So I mean, like they're either like actually overtuned and like their numbers are strong, or like, you know, they're just really good into the current mindset of players, and the mindset kind of needs to just change a little bit.
Perhaps, and we are talking about like rank ladder, you know, and low tier, etc. Seeing this at the OWCS level, the highest level of competition for this game, the skill level, some may even argue that it's higher than Grandmaster, much higher than Grandmaster, because it's kind of a joke. You can say it's a little bit of a gimmick, but you know, there is a place for some of this stuff. There is a place. Sim is kind of the one that you look at because she wants to move fast, but she also wants to establish and play around others who can like soak the damage so she can ramp up and set up, etc. So it was a little bit unexpected that you'd see it being played with a wrecking ball. Here's some footage of Please Not Hero Band playing against a Blom Tiger. Ultimately, I believe taking the win on this map, this game here. So like the synergy is a little bit there, and it's kind of just unexpected. And I think that might be the big surprise. But for the meta to shift this drastically from week 1 to week 2 is still something definitely big to note.
Also the map though, right? Like this looks like a really solid, like I've played the map before obviously, but like this is a really solid map for these characters. Like look at this like stuff, you know, there's like ledges, there's things to fall off, there's little corners that can hide Symmetra turrets, Torbjorn turrets, stuff like that. And then just Torbjorn's I cannot speak. Torb's ult alone on like that point area right there is just pretty devastating, right?
Yeah, a solid aerial denial for sure. And this is definitely a wrecking ball map where you can kind of escape route around corners, kind of sneak in and set up a lot easier. But yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how week 3 goes with the meta, if people continue on the deployable comp. Overall, like I said, the biggest thing here is that this team played it in OWCS Japan, and then a lot of pros kind of commentated on it. They came across it in their ladder matches after this point, and you did see some conversation of like, well, how do you beat it? How do you play against it? Being a relatively new, unmatched problem, essentially, you know, people aren't going to have the solutions initially, so they're waiting for it to develop and researched out and through. And
yeah, I mean, it's hard with situations like this, right? There's a low number of champions and only one ban, so I'm not saying that there is, but like if somebody does like the Masuda method and comes out with a comp that really only has like one counter, right? Like I don't know what it would be or anything like that, but you know, if there was a comp that only had like one counter, they're able to ban it out, and then you're not really able to ban out that comp is a kind of hard and frustrating thing to do in this game with the limitations that are on the game itself. Low champions, only one ban. So I definitely have to see how it plays out, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a big week, and is it going to be more of the same, or is it going to be a little bit different? Are teams going to? So I do want to spotlight before we move on. This match, Team Liquid versus Rad Esports. Team Liquid won 3-0 very definitively, right? MVP was Infected, which is their tank player, who's very well known for their Wrecking Ball, which makes sense. Wrecking Ball strong right now. Wrecking Ball has a comp that supports them better and can, play around the other team a little bit better. But Rad Esports didn't ban Wrecking Ball at all in this matchup. Rad Esports picked maps that are less likely to benefit a Wrecking Ball. I mean, Yeatle, major ball player, always wins on Lijiang. That's the thing he says on stream all the time. It's true. It's very nearly true. So first map, Lijiang Tower, you're losing the Wrecking Ball. Absolutely. Eichenwald is not necessarily as strong, especially 0.2 for that. But then Dorado as well. Like, there aren't Wrecking Ball maps, and they're hoping that would create enough dissonance for that. But in fact, it got the MVP. Is this just a case of like Rad not knowing what to ban, not having a good strategy, and not good coaching mindset of how to counterpick the other team? Or is this just like too good, click heads, move on, GG, easy? It's a lot of those questions, and we'll kind of see how that goes in the following week, man. Here's a question. We talked about Bastion and Sim and Tor being characters aren't necessarily good for a meta because they enable too much value for low skill expression, let's say. What would your thoughts or feelings be for like a Wrecking Ball in that?
Wrecking Ball has skill expression. He's not just standing there on a pole, just swinging around like it's like he's playing tetherball, right? It's he's a lot more complicated. Not to mention that the first person view makes that character a lot more complicated. To be honest, like I feel like it would be a lot easier to play Wrecking Ball. Oh well, no, you don't. You play in third person, don't you? When you fucking play Wrecking Ball, I'm such an idiot. I don't play Wrecking Ball. When you go in ball mode, you go third person, don't you?
Yeah,
automatically.
It's like you do get a little bit of an advantage from first person to third person, just like Reinhardt.
Yeah, you can peek around walls and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, I haven't played him in a while. I haven't played Overwatch in a while, so there you go. Good game. Trademarked. Anyway, like, they should lean into that. But anyway, no, but like that's I feel like there's more skill expression with like, we'll say tanks, there's definitely less skill expression with Torbjorn. Like what is he doing? Right? I put the thing down. It's like knowing like, it's kind of like supporting and not really supporting in League of Legends, but dropping wards in League of Legends is like, once you memorize where you're supposed to be placing wards and at what time you place wards, like, are you actually doing anything? Like that you're not, like, basically like you're doing what you're supposed to do. Now, are you doing anything that's skill expressive? Absolutely not. Well, if you find a new ward, maybe.
On that point, though, Yeatle, I just talked about Wrecking Ball. He's had a series called Skill Check, and I've been checking that out on his stream. He just released his video for Skill. I think it's called Skill Issue. Is the whole series. He did his 50 hours on. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Yeatle's been doing a series called Skill Issue. He's been doing one hero, play it for 50 hours, and see how high of a rank he can get on. Right? He's done a lot of GM runs, fresh account to GM runs on a lot of different characters, new heroes, tanks, supports, DPS, etc. He just released his video for Torbjorn, 50 hours of Torbjorn, and one of the first things he says with it is that you'd be surprised at how much little things that you have to learn, how much tech, etc. for it. And it's not just, like you're saying, turret placements. So I want to give a little bit more credit. I can't imagine it being like the most in-depth thing. It's not like necessarily a Genji player with learning sensitivity and movement, etc. Not like the clipping and the wall dashes, etc. It's definitely not like Tracer in that sort of aspect. But I do want to give a little bit more credit to a Torbjorn, because I think in this week, especially at the top level, some of the best players in the world couldn't keep up, even if they were mirroring that Torb comp, even if they were trying to counter it. Like, there's something there. And yes, is it a question of power creep? Is it just numbers for the sake of numbers? But I do feel like that's a huge issue with video game communities as big as Overwatch is. And I'm going to say technically was. We are seeing numbers drop, but as well as like a League of Legends, kind of a mindset. the reputation of games and players in that is something that is a living, breathing thing as well. So like player sentiment on a game with League of Legends about this hero's trash, this is good, this is really skill expression. It's like you know, sorry, I'm getting a little bit heated on this one, but I always love the what's it called? The Scrub Lord's prayer, where it's like, well, you didn't play fair, you cheated. Well, if you didn't cheat, then you know you weren't playing honorably, and if you didn't play honorably, you weren't playing fair. Like, kind of, it usually comes to that way. It's like, well, you can't play that character. That character's easy. And it's like, doesn't matter. It's in the game. Learn to play against it, kind of thing. So like, regardless of how good they are, you know, you have to be good to be able to play against it as well. And like the reputation of games like this, Overwatch or League of Legends, and eventually Marvel Rivals, is going to catch up with it and create that dissonance in player base overall, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. You know, it's not to say that Torb doesn't have skill expression, is what I was saying. Just I thought that what's his face is just more skill expressive in general as a champion or character, rather.
Yeah. No, that's fair with Wrecking Ball, but yeah. We'll see what's going to go on with Overwatch. We're getting a big update in about 2 days on the 12th. Today's only Monday, so we'll expect that on Wednesday. Maybe they'll just completely rework Torbjorn. Maybe they'll rework a bunch of characters. Maybe they'll drop the 2 in Overwatch 2. We'll see. We've got a couple days before we see any information on that. And then we've got until the weekend before we see the next update of OWCS and games being played. Nick, we are flying through these topics and subjects, man. How you feeling? What do you want to?
I'm good at this.
Next, I got a couple things. Just Nick, you've solved esports already.
Oh yeah, dude. Tell the internet so that they can hate on me more, baby. Get this fat idiot out of here. He solved the internet. Sure. What was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've got a couple other things I wasn't totally prepared to talk about this week already, but
what before we get off Overwatch, doesn't Overwatch have like the show match that's coming up this week or next week?
They're gonna probably express a bunch of things, but I don't think anything's entirely announced. I haven't seen that. I know they have the announcement of
they got flats
happening this year,
don't they?
They've got a lot of streamers coming through and playing at the campus, so it's going to be big, but it's all part of the announcement in 2 days, and I'm guessing they're going to all play games, maybe not against each other, maybe against each other, but we're going to see. I'm sure it's also going to be a play test for whatever new heroes coming up this year that all those entitled streamers get to look at. Have you seen that they announced like some sort of show match or something?
Yeah. There was like I thought there was like a whole, thing with like the streamers that were going to do it, and then they were going to announce the update. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, my understanding it was just they're going to be a part of the announcement. I didn't think they were doing a show match.
Maybe I read it wrong, but I think that's what it was. But I can't find it, so.
Nicky's just making up stuff. He solved the internet, but his brain is broken.
That's what happens, dude. Sometimes you just end up doing it.
Yeah, I think I might have found what you're speaking about a little bit here. Let's show it on screen real quick. Featured streamers, spotlight in that way. I don't feel like this is. I think they're being invited to the Blizzard campus, and I think they're going to be showcasing the new changes, doing interviews on campus with developers and artists and etc. from the Blizzard team, the Overwatch team, as well as taking a look at the new heroes behind the scene, taking a look at what's going on, probably giving their feedback on what's going on with the new changes coming up overall. So I think this is what you were.
It'd be interesting, about. But I don't think I would have too much interest in watching developers and everybody talk about that without knowing, like actually seeing the update, because they said they're just going to have information on the update. So like,
well, I imagine overall they're going to take a look at what's it called? They're going to announce all the information, and then they're going to have the streamers kind of disseminate it to their communities, talk about it, play some games, and then talk with the devs with their community about it. Just kind of like AMAs on an impersonal level or a personal level. Big difference, impersonal and personal, but yeah.
Yeah.
And that's historically what they've kind of done. So like, I haven't seen it as being like a dedicated, like, here's a show match. Maybe they'll have some of that stuff. CarQ's probably going to do a behind the scenes trivia question, content, etc. If he's.
But you found that in this. Is this the Twitter post?
Yeah.
Good. What they write when they posted it?
Your favorite Twitch creators are ready for Overwatch 2 Spotlight, but are you ? Tune in and watch creators below like Faria, August, and Coach Spilo, and more live on February 12th to earn Lucio skin and Baptiste Flirty Flare Baptiste skin. Yeah. So they're announcing drops here. Essentially, they're announcing that there's going to be a lot of support streamers. These are the streamers that are likely going to be at the campus or at least involved with them. Their announcement. And I don't know, this might be an interesting question because, like I said, like Blizzard's biggest problem is their reputation right now. And like they got to keep up with Marvel Rivals essentially. So they're going to have this big announcement. Marvel Rivals is going to have announcements in the next week as their second half of season 1 is going to come through. You know, is this going to be enough overall? Is this going to be enough to juice the system, get people excited for it? I think the quiet players are going to be fine with it, but I think the tribalism is going to just hate on it on the internet, regardless of what it's going to be.
I mean, yeah, you know, it's Overwatch. If you ain't hating on Overwatch, what are you doing with your life? Just kidding.
You're playing Marvel Rivals probably, or you're playing Overwatch, but yeah. So yeah, we'll see what they have to say about Overwatch 2 here and the future of it in 2025 coming up on just a couple of days from now. We'll keep you posted about all the information, details, etc. as soon as we know. But from here, Nick, let's move into something a little bit different. I'm going to bring us over to a video of Taliesin and Evitel releasing this about WoW. And essentially its primary focus is on add-ons and is add-ons destroying the game. Let's start there. Nick,
sure.
You're a historic WoW player. You know, I remember
ancient baby.
We've played on the same dining room table at times, bringing computers to friends' houses to just LAN party game for a week, essentially. So we've been playing that game for a while. What is your stance on add-ons historically? And then what is your stance now moving forward or in the current era of WoW?
I think like limited add-ons is like fine. I think there's like certain add-ons that kind of get like too excessive. I think macros are also a little excessive at time, but like they're like so entrenched in the game that like any point really becomes like moot to like really take them out. You know, like we've nerfed DBM enough, right? Like Blizzard has nerfed DBM to the point where, you know, they took away DBM basically playing your character for you anyway, but they highlight glaring problems with the game overall that you just can't be bothered to fix because like I don't know how else to really explain it, but that's really how I feel about like add-ons, like things that are in the game or maybe like the game shouldn't be built a certain way or like fights shouldn't be built a certain way because like, you know, there's not how many add-ons are in Final Fantasy.
I haven't picked up Final Fantasy in forever, but I know they take a harder stance on add-ons in general. Yeah,
you know, so, but that's pretty much like right. I use them for especially for like UI. Like I think that it's always been foolish on their part that they had like such a limited UI for so long. It was so bulky and so like hard to deal with a lot of the time. So those ones were fine. I think like when you get to the point of like auction house add-ons and stuff like that, which kind of like automate your things for you and stuff like that, I think that's probably excessive. Stuff like that, like damage meters, or why aren't they in the game? Because you think it's going to be toxic? Like, no, like stop that. Like, don't, like, we're not babies. Like, just ban the people who can't be trusted. Like, is the thing. But anyway, that's my point. That's my opinion on add-ons.
Interesting. Whoa. Do you think add-ons as a whole enhance your skill? And like, WoW is such a big game where you can just play the auction house, like you're saying. Do you think add-ons will enhance your skill in something like the auction house? And then more traditionally, do you think your add-ons enhance your skill level in other areas like Mythic Plus or raids?
Do you think continuing like onto higher education after high school increases your overall intelligence? No. That's pretty much like that. There you go.
That's quite an interesting pivot. I didn't necessarily expect you to say, oh, do you think increasing, like, you know, the amount you learn makes you smarter? I didn't expect that kind of.
Being more knowledgeable pivot and being more intelligent are two different things. And that's the thing with add-ons. You're not more knowledgeable. Yeah. Like in this case, it would make you more knowledgeable, right? And it doesn't make you more intelligent about the game. So you can't make any more choices in the game if something comes up. So like if you get to a point where like the add-on isn't there, you wouldn't be able to really like perform properly, mostly at higher levels, right? We're not going to say like running, like you don't need any add-ons for Molten Core. Like at all. At all. Like I won't accept that. There's no, like, you don't need add-ons for Molten Core. You don't need add-ons for Onyxia, right? I would say you definitely like a Mythic 25. Yeah, maybe you need some add-ons over there, because that part of the game isn't like, that's not a properly processed and made part of the game, to be honest. Like that's like difficulty for difficulty's sake.
Yeah, that's upper echelons of difficulty for sure. The highest ranked people are competing at like 23, 24, 25s, barely ever getting to 25s. But interesting. I would also then assume though, like it might be a design issue when you talk about raid like Molten Core with you know. There's
plenty of design issues in World of Warcraft, especially in fights, mechanics, stuff like that. Like the reason why you need add-ons is the glaring flaws that are made in the game itself for the design aspect of it.
There's a concept called desired path when you do city planning. Like let's say you go to a park and you're walking around and you're on the sidewalk, but then you see this dirt cut through some grass that's going to basically be a shortcut for you. So rather than walking all the way around, you can just kind of cut through this grass section that has a dirt path. And those are called desired paths, which show people want to just go this way because it's quicker, easier, and it's too much friction to go the other way. The one that's been designed for, the one that's been planned and properly, like, you know, laid concrete down, made fences, grass on the side, etc. Sure. People are like, that's too much friction. I'm just going to cut across here. I think add-ons are desired paths, perhaps, for players playing the game. And there's definitely glaring flaws in things where they, you know, especially with boss mechanics where like the big bad ones should indicate better, should signal better. Mobs and groups, you should know which one to kick because they're doing like a bigger sort of like animation or what's that term where the glow, like a glow or something on their cast, so you know, oh, this is going to be devastating, like signaling to players. And I think add-ons do that, and those add-ons are just showing a lot of times the desired path of gamers through the game. Does it increase your skill? Some could argue yes, because it is allowing you more vision, field of vision on things and understanding of stuff. But yeah, if you give a monkey a typewriter, they could potentially write Shakespeare now, but like it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do it, because it's more likely they're going to just gibberish.
If I teach you how to play a song versus you being able to play your own original song, Again, man, like it's not making you better. It's just learning. It's you're teaching and training yourself like Pavlov's bell to be able to do a thing at a certain time because you heard an interesting trigger. That's what DBM does. Move away, little girl. Like it's literally a psychological effect to have you react to the signals that they send out to you because you're doing a train dance from the add-on instead of the game itself. That's right, all.
But it's training wheels too. Like if you get the signal and then you die, you know why you died. If you don't get a signal and you die, then you don't know why you died. Like you're not going to learn. So like that's also an interesting, and that goes back to the design flaws perhaps, but like that might be a little push and pull with it, where it's like you do need something like maybe that's like the add-ons are training wheels. Maybe they're kind of just casually guiding players on that. So then why can't the game give training wheels up to like a +5 on a mythic, or like into heroic raids, and then mythic raids you don't get training wheels anymore, right? So yes, it is Pavlov. Bell rings, run away, little girl, and then you move out of the fire. And how much do we know as WoW players how people don't move out of the fire already with these add-ons too? So
you're proving my point. They're not even getting any smarter with the add-on, right? So like, thanks for like just coming full circle onto my side.
It's more nuanced with that, man. It's more nuanced.
Not really. You're just saying the exceptions to the rule, man. That's all. You're trying to bring the exceptions to this. Like there are people who get better at playing the game and are more intelligent at playing the game and being able to make their own decisions in the game, right? It does it that where they don't need the add-on, or they create specific macros, or they use a different add-on to get their specific version of the timing in order to get it. Like what's the oh my god, weak auras? Like how many people actually effectively use weak auras versus downloading a weak aura mod and then you put it on, right? Like that happens so often. Like those little add-on things you're not anyway, but that's basically the point. You can it's just like a job, like in World of Warcraft. Like you just get it. Like it's not the same as like in PvP. You're gonna get better at PvP if you play it long enough, right? There's like it's variance. You're able to make decisions. You're doing things. But when you're talking about like a fight that is scripted, that you're not even making the choices of which way to run half the time because it tells you join up with triangle, move right, move left. Like that's like
something too we've seen Blizzard take a bigger stance on since Dragonflight, the end of Dragonflight, where it's a little bit more rampant. I think actually the end of Shadowlands going against the jailer, that was really go to circle kind of thing, right? And we used to see that don't stand in fire back in like Wrath of the Lich King days where they banned it out, but they're very conservative when it comes to stuff like that. I think they've taken a stronger stance on it since the end of Dragonflight and the beginning of the War Within. And I think it's called soft auras, where it's essentially they don't let certain buffs be visible or a part of the API, where then like a weak aura can go, okay, you have a circle, go stand on the circle aspect of it, and that coordination. And the biggest, I guess, example we've seen of that recently was the Brood Master, the Brood Twister in the most recent raid, the Rubian Palace, where like it was a wall of health, and then you'd have to manage a lot of different ads, and you have to pop the bug eggs to in certain places in certain ways. So that's how players started coordinating, but that was also where it's like a little bit, okay, we're kind of on this edge. Is it cool or not? It's a fair question. It's an interesting question overall. And this question that Taliesin ended up asking because this has been a conversation in
like
the World of Warcraft.
You're that good already. You're just becoming more familiar with something that you can do. Just think about it that way. Like that's what the add-ons do. If you're not able to play the game, the add-ons wouldn't matter. Even if you put the add-ons on, you couldn't play the game. So like you're not becoming more intelligent. The game, it's not making you better. It's literally like you're just that good. And when you literally become more familiar with the fights, when you learn like what you're doing, you're just able to play at the level that you can play at, because that's how your brain works. Like it's not like I don't know. Like you can't sit here and just train a monkey to do like a new barack or something ridiculous. Come on, man.
Bobo, go tank Molten Core right now.
It's a lot easier it should be easier for people to understand that like you're not becoming, you're just opening yourself up to something new that you haven't experienced before. And that's usually what like the fights do, right? Like a new fight is a new fight. It's not like you go from one fight to the next one. It shouldn't be the same, and you should have to learn something, but it doesn't mean like you're just capable of playing World of Warcraft. That's what World of Warcraft is. Like I don't know how else to like say it. Like if you're not capable of playing World of Warcraft, what does it matter for the add-ons?
I think you're definitely right in that aspect, and I want to ask just generally what about new players, and then what about this age of video games that we are in, where everything is solved on the internet? Here's the meta, here's what it is, and here's how you have to play it. But generally speaking, if I play one of the we've seen it in the DPS meters for like a lot of the mythic raiders, etc. Or that's just the range of parses for rating in general. You see it on Wowhead, you see it on some of the other charts. I could play one of the middle of the pack DPS characters, but if I play it at if I'm the most comfortable with it, if I play it at the highest capacity, I'm probably going to do more DPS than if you played a top meta character, but you're not familiar with it. It doesn't click too. So like, you are sort of throttled by the player's skill in that aspect, but then how does that feel for like a new player? Are add-ons then essential to learn? Is add-ons essential to just get up to speed? Because like we are in this solved meta aspect of this games like League of Legends, like you have to play as this team, otherwise you're throwing. I see it more and more in Overwatch now that like the community is sort of becoming more.
That's because the bronze players in League and in Overwatch have been playing for years. Like you're not really playing against new players. You're playing like you're a new player playing against someone who's at your skill level for the last X amount of years, right? Like it's a harsh way of saying it, but like you're going into a new player base.
Yeah. So how does then that compare like to if a new player coming in? Obviously, it might deter them because then they're going to be brash or hard about it. But then, as a new player, do I need to pick up add-ons? Essentially,
how do you even know about add-ons?
Well, exactly. That becomes.
No, I'm saying you learn that when you get to other players, but when you start the game, there's nothing saying like, "Hey, you might need to grab some add-ons. Click here, we'll send you to a website." It's not the case. So it doesn't matter.
The best would be seeing a streamer play the game and then seeing what's on their screen. It's like, why does their screen look different than my screen? Kind of thing.
Yeah. And then you change the HUD and then you become more comfortable with it. And then but I don't know.
But that's where the question comes in where it's like, do new players need the add-ons? Can they play? And it's a question that Taliesin ended up asking after, the community talking about it and him discussing with people in his streaming community. And he ended up doing this challenge where he's going to start a character, no add-ons. And essentially, let me throw this on the screen real quick and I'll talk over it. Here it is in the background. More or less, he started with a Disc Priest, which is his main, and he wanted to see if he could match or exceed where he was playing with his main character overall. Turns out he was able to do it on a Disc Priest, kind of no problem. Some shit groups, but really the random pugs, he had to pug everybody. He did this off stream. Nobody knew it was him. He didn't tell anybody. He didn't ask anybody for help. He just pugged it like every other random schmo on the internet and generally with WoW. He did it with a Disc Priest, no problem, got to his level, exceeded his level with no add-ons. So then, he starts having hypothetical questions from hypothetical people where it's like, well, you didn't do it the right way. So then he does it again with a tank. He does it with a prot warrior. And it's like, well, same thing, gets to that level, gets a little high. He has to do some workarounds. He's showing right here some of the target cast macros he ends up creating that he has to watch a video to kind of learn which ones you should look out for, which isn't necessarily a problem. That's like researching a fight. but like maybe that's also the thing that add-ons help with. Like it reduces the amount of research needed. Long story short, he finishes this part where he's a tank. He then plays a tank he's never played before. He's never played tank before. So then goes into an off-meta tank playing a Brewmaster Monk, does the same thing, ends up getting to the same excelled part further than he would on his main, on his natural character. And then this final form, his final discussion here, talking about it with add-ons is like, well, you're playing a tank. Tanks need to be picked. You can still kind of do it, blah, blah, blah. You should play an off-meta DPS that no one's going to invite to. So he plays an Affliction Warlock, and where he sees the invites to group go down a little bit, he's still able to get into group, and then he's still able to see that he was contributing in a significant manner without add-ons, managing dots, doing the things, and then he's seeing that, you know, he does it. He gets to the level of play, the ranking on Mythic Pluses that he was able to do on his main Discipline Priest with add-ons overall. So that was the challenge. That was the synopsis here, and it's definitely an interesting like kind of perspective here, because then he does also highlight what Blizzard needs to add to make you know, not just make Blizzard good, but make Blizzard good, right? Like make WoW, like, okay, you don't need add-ons. We can get by with just this and the new player experience, et cetera, et cetera. And he does a really excellent job with that. Nick, I've kind of talked a lot. I surmised a lot here. I want to take a sip of my tea, but you know, what are your thoughts maybe on this and like how I paraphrased it? This might
sounds like you proved my point.
Out.
It sounds like you proved my point. He did it. He did it without the add-ons. He's that good at World of Warcraft. Like, no, but you know,
by his own account, he'd say he's a mediocre player overall.
How many players are mediocre? That's probably average. Like me included, probably. Like, you know,
yeah.
I'm not crushing meters or anything anymore. Like, sure, I did Nax in vanilla. Yay me. Like, I was also a healer. That shit was painful. Like, it was punishment. But you know, like I here's like the better point, right? Is that like look at his UI right now. It looks clean as hell, bro. It looks like level 70 UI. There's no extra add-ons or anything like that. There's no damage meters. Like it's like certain, like my UI at level 70 look like this, except probably not as much in the middle. All my buttons are off to the side, and I memorize the keybind kind of thing. Like I just have them there to switch. Like
a quick,
you know.
Yeah, a quick point to that. He's discussing his journey as a tank currently. I think he's still on the Prot Warrior in this part of the journey. That centerpiece, this is all the natural UI that Blizzard's provided and is updated, and they've already sort of announced that they're expecting more UI changes in 11.1, and then especially in the next major, not the next major patch, but I think the next expansion when
11.2
housing's gonna. I think when player housing comes in or et cetera, but like they are aware of this. They are making these changes. We just got this UI change back in Dragonflight, so it's pretty good. But specifically here with Taliesin, he talked about it a little bit earlier, is health bars in the middle. He had to put resource on the middle here because of the Prot Warrior. He had to worry about it. So he has his resource bar there in the middle, which is stock UI, no add-ons providing that. And then he takes one of his action bars and just puts it in the middle here to work as a faux. He has two of them actually. He works as a faux weak auras, so he can see procs a little bit easier. He doesn't have to look all the way down at the bottom of his screen. He can still see it near where his player is, especially as a tank. He can see what defensives he has ready that aren't on cooldown. So this is like a cooldown bar essentially. It's not like I press the button, it goes. All those are at the bottom here. This is like a buff debuff bar where it's showing you what's available. It's kind of interesting. So to your point about like layout and the cleanliness of it, it's like you could probably even go cleaner if, you know, this wasn't your preference or if this wasn't the situation you would need for what you're trying to do. Yeah,
like I'm not even joking with you. The bag bar, the menu bar, get it all out of here. That's good. And right where the menu bar is right now and the bag bar, that's exactly how small my bars were and are. Like on a regular basis, that's still my UI. Very small in the corner, put the buttons over there, and then I have like the proper stuff in the middle, with my cooldowns and all my stuff.
It's also definitely something that shows desired path, because I don't think you can get rid of the visibility of those, like the what is the menu bar or the bag bar currently. So like another desired path sort of moment that you need an add-on to make it transparent. You can make it that small, but you can't make it transparent.
Yeah. I mean, you should be able to do all sorts of stuff, right? Like another one other thing is like the tooltip. I have the tooltip at the top left. I don't have it in the bottom right, because I have my buttons in the bottom right and stuff like that. Like I don't want that over there. So I have it on the top left. My map is on my map's lower. It's not all the way in the top right.
Yeah.
But
I know that that's a big part of like when you start doing higher things or more intense things is visibility. Just like add-ons provide more information, just seeing more shit provides more information. And if you got a map covering, you've got buffs covering, you can't see anything.
Yep.
Yeah. That's kind of the gist of this. I figured it was a good conversation, kind of lead us out of our topics tonight. Have some fun talking about this thing. Taliesin generally does a good job with the week-to-week explaining a lot of the stuff. Kind of does provide a provocative thing, especially with a community that has a bad reputation, that a game that has had a bad reputation that has bounced back. And I think this is like and the overall overarching meta of games. We see a game like Marvel Rivals in the beginning of their life cycle. Honeymoon phase, people are excited about it. You can see rumblings here and there, questioning integrity, questioning play. But then, versus a game like Overwatch 9 years in, bad reputation, bad choices, conservative development overall, players feeling exploited. And then WoW, 20 years old, doing it and try to like realize, okay, we're not just going to milk this till it's done. We're going to revitalize and try to bring new players in. We're going to try to revitalize and make experiences better. We're going to combat add-on handicapping, aspect. And I think this video was very much a show in that. And to your point, spelling in WoW, you don't need add-ons to play high levels. Add-ons help provide more information, but then a lot of add-ons also then hinder you just by visual aspect. So just keep it simple, keep it slim as well. And it's really just this player sentiment that is the narrative overall, from a new game like Marvel Rivals to a medium old game like Overwatch and League of Legends to an old game like World of Warcraft.
We'll see. We'll see what they do with the add-ons.
Yeah, I am excited to see that, because we're going to see another raid come up in about another 2-3 weeks. We're seeing the great push currently happen in World of Warcraft. Mythic Plus, so you can go the highest level. Those are definitely some people using some add-ons in very specific ways, but they're also doing like 0.01% shit, things that nobody else is going to even cross their mind of doing, etc. So continue the conversation at a later point and watch through. But Nick, I think that kind of wraps us up for this evening here. We talked about a few different things. We flew through it. Nick, you solved the internet. Thank you so much. Let's get the word out. Let's put it on our email mailing list. Nick solved the internet via the Esports Meta, and have everybody thank us via Twitter. Conveniently, our handles came up on Twitter there underneath our names as I said that.
An X.
Yeah, sure. Blue Sky X. Let's just call it what it is.
I don't have a Blue Sky, but
well, what you do have is some time here. We're wrapping up the episode. In this coming week, we've got LTA Cross Conference happening. We've got Overwatch Week 3. We've got the announcement for Overwatch. We've got some World of Warcraft stuff coming up. Is there something you're looking forward to before we end up talking next week, or are you just going to keep hyper focusing on Balatro or some Magic practice?
Yeah, pretty much that. And, cross conference. That's pretty much it. That's my week this week.
All right. Yeah, I've been pretty interested in Pokemon Pocket still, but seeing how the metagame shakes up with this new, it looks like a Darkrai is dominating everything and it's kind of solidifying it to one way, but I have like the XYZ rock, paper, scissors that's kind of happening through statistics. I have like that same aspect in Overwatch. We'll see how that goes. And hopefully we get something decent on the announcement of Overwatch 2 is expected this week.
Yeah,
I don't know if it can survive if it doesn't. All right,
free
but
skins.
that's our time
All
for
the skins
today.
are free now.
I like the way you think.
It's just like only for a period of time.
Yeah.
You get one free skin
25
every 3 hours that you play, but it has to be consecutive. If you stop at 2 hours and 30 minutes, you get no skin. You got to start it all over again.
Man, that's already asking for a shit show in the forums kind of thing. But
Do it.
Nick, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining me. If you're watching, thanks for watching out there. Appreciate you being here. You can check us out on our social media at the Esports Meta. If you think Nick solved the internet, you can ping him directly on X or on Instagram or in our comment section. If you also think his beard is very nicely trimmed today, that's another place you can comment. So thanks for watching. Appreciate you being here. We're going to be live again next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want more of us, check us out on all the other places, social media, Twitch, etc., YouTubes. Nick, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching, everybody. And we will see you next time.